A day. He couldn't wait a single day before revving up the Grift machine. DC releases a teaser trailer for Supergirl, and this dipshit couldn't wait a day to jump on the hate train for something he hasn't yet seen. Literally, day zero, this was his tweet. An ironic one at that, as you have the critical drinker calling a drunk wearing glasses edgy. The critical drinker calls a drunk wearing glasses edgy. You can't make this stuff up. You know, I called this one instantly. This is precisely how predictable these people have become. If a superhero project stars a woman or a minority, these idiots come out of the woodwork like roaches when the lights go off. And it's sad, really. These people and the parrots that follow them have such miserable lives where literally everything that releases is out to get them or hurts their feelings in some way. Only the cynical grifter has something to show for it, as he makes thousands of dollars whining, which of course only makes the people doing it for free even sadder. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say.
This movie is a wacky, irreverent adventure about a dysfunctional, loose-cannon protagonist with a love of dancing and 1980s pop music who uses snarky humor to mask their inner pain and turmoil. They're not your typical superhero, that's for sure. But when they get embroiled in a world-ending conflict, they're forced to team up with a group of likable misfits. They're not your typical superhero team, that's for sure.
Wait a minute. Isn't that just your tweet, but reworded slightly? I mean, I knew you were a lazy hack, but come on, make this difficult. Both this soliloquy and your tweet are completely wrong, but in order to prove this, I must first explain Woman of Tomorrow. The new Supergirl film is based on the comic book Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, an 8-book miniseries by Tom King. Remember that name, it'll be important later. This story is told from the perspective of Ruthie, a young alien girl on a planet with a red sun who loses her father to the space pirate Krim of the Yellow Hills. Ruthie, being a young girl, sets out to find someone capable of killing Krim in revenge for the slaying of her father, and happens upon a bounty hunter whom she offers Krim's sword as payment. The bounty hunter attempts to steal that sword, and a drunk Supergirl who is celebrating her 21st birthday intercepts the bounty hunter and retrieves the sword. Ruthie, enamored with and thankful to Supergirl, follows her and makes her the same deal, which she refuses because Supergirl doesn't kill people. Krim appears with the bounty hunter and tries to kill Supergirl and Krypto, very nearly succeeding, because this planet has a red sun which slowly depowers Supergirl and is why she came here, so she could physically get drunk for her birthday. Krypto is poisoned by Krim's arrows, and only he knows the antidote for the poison. Krim then steals Supergirl's ship, and now unable to fly after him due to the red sun, Supergirl is stranded with Ruthie, and they go on an adventure to catch Krim, force him to give them the antidote for Krypto's poisoning, and kill Krim for killing Ruthie's father. This story is fucking awesome, and I highly recommend any comic book fan that hasn't yet read it to do so, because not only is the story and artwork phenomenal, you'll be introduced to a fantastic new DC character in Ruthie Mary Knoll, and she might even be your favorite character in the story. Now, back to Drinker's tweet. He's characterized this trailer as a wacky space adventure about a dysfunctional hero who has to partner up with a quirky band of misfits. Now, dear viewer, what part of the synopsis of Woman of Tomorrow that I just explained is a dysfunctional hero partnering up with a quirky band of misfits? There are two protagonists in this story, not Supergirl partnering up with a band of misfits. Supergirl isn't dysfunctional. She came to this planet in order to celebrate her birthday, and because there is a red sun, she's finally able to get drunk. In the comic, the reason she does this is because she's still mourning the loss of her mother, father, and Krypton, something the trailer actually shows. Also shown in the trailer is Kara suffering from a hangover, another thing lifted directly from the comic. Where in that trailer was it shown that this apparent team of misfits are taking on a bigger threat? Krim, while dangerous to regular people in the story, is literally no match for Supergirl and has to use a magical orb to BFR her. So you see, so far, nothing of what Drinker has said about this film is accurate to the trailer or the comic book this story is based on. This is because Drinker does not know what he's talking about, has no knowledge of the source material, has a child's grasp on marketing material, and is so fucking lazy that he won't even do the bare minimum to understand why certain things are being shown to him. It has been known long before this trailer even dropped that they would be adapting Tom King's comic book. Here, I'll prove it. This is a screenshot of Wikipedia's entry on the film from July of this year. You can clearly see they stated this film would be an adaptation of that comic book, and this was the time the Critical Drinker was complaining about Superman, saying it wouldn't surpass $600 million. So it should be clear to everyone here that he did not do his due diligence and is pulling things from his ass in his strange crusade against James Gunn that has seemingly come out of nowhere. To harp further on this point, he's blaming James Gunn when this film is written and directed by people that are not James Gunn, something he later acknowledges in this video, but still blames James Gunn anyway. And here's the hilarious part. Remember when I told you to keep the name Tom King in mind? Well, this is Tom King, the writer of Woman of Tomorrow. If you zoom in, you might start to notice something a little strange about this Wikipedia page. And it's this passage where it clearly states that Tom was brought into DC Studios to be one of the architects of the DCU. So the writer of the story this film is stated to be based on is heavily involved with this film, and when you watch the trailer seems to be lifting things directly from the comic book it was based on that this man wrote. And Drinker still blames James Gunn. The same James Gunn that explicitly stated it's important to him that the writers and directors of these projects give their own self-expression to those projects. The same James Gunn that stated he's giving those artists the freedom to create what they want to create and that he likes when things are tonally incongruent but come together in interesting ways. That James Gunn.
The 8 to 10 year arc is, a lot of what DC is, and the fun for me really is in the world building, not just the story building. That's, DCU isn't, I don't think of DCU as being, this is a story we're telling over multiple films and TV shows about one big bad. I don't want to have to do, as an audience member, to do the homework, to have to see every single thing. It is more of a connected universe that exists within one place, which is the DCU, which will have differences depending on who the artists and the directors and the production designers that are making the shows.
Which will have differences depending on who the artists and the directors and the production designers that are making the shows.
Boom.
Our gang have to learn to put aside their differences and work together to save the day, and along the way, our main character finds a new surrogate family in this crazy group of outcasts, and learns that sometimes the real heroes are the friends we make along the way.
After everything that I've just told and shown you, it should now be very clear that this guy is a moron that doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. His grasp on marketing material is amateur at best, and it's clear he immediately hopped on a microphone the second this trailer dropped to drum up hatred on a property he hasn't researched in the slightest, which is incredibly irresponsible when you have an audience that is measured in the millions. It's obvious that he was going to dislike this property no matter what it did, and that's why we've got tweets of Drinker unknowingly making fun of himself before that trailer even released. Hey Drinker, that drill bit isn't nearly long enough.
It's interesting how a movie that was, officially at least, neither written nor directed by James Gunn is somehow shaping up to be the most James Gunn movie that ever James Gunned. I don't know how else to say it, but the trailer that just got released yesterday is basically a comprehensive checklist of every tired, played out James Gunn cliche from every superhero movie he's ever made. There's the dog to kick things off, because there's always a dog in a James Gunn movie, because everyone knows that putting a cute furry animal in your movie is pretty much the quickest and laziest way of speedrunning your way to audience sympathies.
This is what I mean. A very hastily written script that is simply inaccurate. First of all, what do you mean a dog is always in a James Gunn movie? Do you mean non-cameo dogs as a main or prominent character as Crypto is in the DCU? Because there weren't any in Slither, just random dead dogs that were mutilated by the parasite. Those were about as prominent as the dead cows were. How about the Belko experiment? Were there any dogs in that office building where the story takes place?
Nope.
What about Brightburn? Were there any prominent dogs in Brightburn?
Nope.
Oh, that was only a movie produced by James Gunn, not written and directed by him? Well, so is this one, so that has to count.
Yeah.
But he's talking about superhero movies, right? Well, was there a prominent dog in The Suicide Squad?
Is this thing a dog?
A dog?
Yes.
What kind of dog do you think it is, mate?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with all the breeds.
Okay, fine. There are some dogs in some of the movies, but they are usually not prominent characters. Let's keep going.
We've got the obnoxious use of 1980s pop songs because, by golly, James Gunn sure does love his classic pop music.
That song was only in the teaser trailer, and we do not know if that song is going to be in the actual movie. This is the Doylist-Watsonian dichotomy, where we on the other side of the fourth wall are seeing and hearing things the characters within that story are not. Again, this was a teaser trailer. The song that plays in the actual film will in all likelihood be something completely different to what we heard in the teaser. You know, because she's on an alien planet with a red sun. I'm not entirely sold on them having 1980s American music playing on a planet light years away from Earth. And newsflash, James Gunn does not have a monopoly on liking or using 80s pop music. Music from that era is extremely popular and is used all the time because it's recognizable. Atomic Blonde's trailer used 1983's Blue Monday. Kick-Ass's trailer used 1981's Bad Reputation. Ready Player One's teaser had 1981's Tom Sawyer. I mean, Thriller is played every single Halloween, for fuck's sake. It's entirely possible that the director of this film, who is 58 years old and was a teenager in the 80s, also loves 80s pop music and okayed its use in this trailer. Let's keep going.
And also because after being forced to listen to Kate Bush on repeat in Stranger Things like I was trapped in some kind of Guantanamo Bay torture session, I've developed a thorough and abiding hatred of this lazy, cringe, nostalgia-milking bullshit. It's not cool and quirky anymore, it's just fucking tired.
Another ironic criticism from the Critical Drinker, a guy that literally whines that modern movies aren't like the 80s movies that he grew up with. But I guess this time it's different. Because.
Anyway, it's time to introduce our main character, Kara. She's not your typical superhero though. She's a drunken, cynical, messed up party girl who likes to cut loose and do her own thing. She's definitely not here to live up to your expectations, that's for sure.
Girls get it done.
Again, this is Drinker failing to have done any due diligence on this film or the source material the film is based on. Once again, Kara travels to planets with red suns because she's a Kryptonian and she cannot metabolize alcohol while on Earth. So for her birthday, she's having a little fun, and clearly she had a little too much fun and is hung over. This is damn near directly lifted from the comic. You know, because the guy that wrote that comic is one of the architects of the DCU. Further, Supergirl is a little depressed because she lost her planet and is still grieving, something, again, from the books and implied in this trailer. I mean, why do you think they're showing her on Krypton? To show us her origin story? Oh, you mean yet another thing from that very comic book? I wonder what they're trying to communicate.
She's played by Millie Alcock, who turned in a great performance in House of the Dragon, and I'm sure she's going to do her best here. I mean, she's not exactly statuesque like I'd imagine Supergirl to be, but whatever. It's not like we'd expect her to do crazy stuff like work out in a gym or anything.
That's because you don't know shit about Supergirl. This is how she appears in the book this film is based on. Not exactly statuesque or extremely muscular, but I digress. All she has to be is taller than Ruthie, and considering the actress playing Ruthie is 4'10" and Millie is 7 inches taller than that, this works perfectly fine. Besides, wouldn't your ridiculous audience dislike a muscular female character? Don't the people that follow you call anybody with a six-pack manly? I mean, this is the Supergirl your audience has been pretending to know anything about. I see two things, and they aren't muscles.
But she looks fine as the drunk, out-of-control party girl who's going through a midlife crisis at 23 for some reason. Oh my goodness, it must be such a drag to be young and hot and superpowered. Can't imagine how you cope with it.
Once again, Drinker betrays his own audience by failing to know anything about what he's talking about. Again, From her perspective, she just lost her planet and her entire family besides Clark. Supergirl's history takes a bit of explaining, but the short version is Kara Zor-El is older than Kal-El. Kal left Krypton as a baby, and Kara left as a teenager, but her ship got stuck, and she was basically frozen in time, similar to Captain America. So she's older and younger than Superman at the same time. This means, although over 30 years has passed since the destruction of Krypton, for her, this tragedy was recent and therefore she is still grieving. This is very likely why she likes to get drunk, but she can't do that on a planet with a yellow sun, so she's here on a planet with a red sun. Notice how Drinker, instead of investigating why the trailer is showing what they're showing, rushed out to make this video and chose to be misogynistic, suggesting that a young girl couldn't possibly have issues because she's young, powerful, and attractive. What the fuck is this dude's problem?
Quirky, pseudo-retro science fiction gags? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Because clearly when you have the ability to fly and travel through space, a bus is the natural choice for getting around.
Again, these scenes are lifted directly from the comic book, and in that story, she's losing or lost her powers due to the red sun. This is why she needs a bus to travel, because on a red sun, a Kryptonian is basically a normal human. This is how stupid you are. You think they're showing Supergirl on a bus for no reason. You could have simply taken another day, investigated why she's taking the bus, and this would have never made it into the video. But instead, you get to be embarrassed by me. You should be honored.
Actually, why the fuck does she even bother wearing a trench coat when she's basically immune to temperature? Oh right, that's why.
I'm not going to keep repeating myself about the star of the planet she's currently on, but I will continue repeating that these are things lifted from the book. The story is based on a book. She is wearing the trench coat in the book. In your haste to tie this element to a movie James Gunn made, you forgot that Supergirl is a comic book character and her wardrobe is based on her design in a comic book.
Time for a fight scene, I guess. Let's assemble our group of accommodating stuntmen to get the shit kicked out of them. But don't forget to work in that snarky James Gunn humor.
Okay, this does not look like this is gonna end well. For you guys.
Nailed it.
I will honestly keep repeating that these are things from the book, not something James Gunn invented. I'm not joking. I can do this all day.
Who even wrote this shite anyway? Anna Noguera, eh? Not exactly a screenwriter I'm familiar with, but surely she must have some pretty impressive accomplishments if she's been charged with writing a $200 million blockbuster.
This video's premise is that this is a James Gunn movie. But when presented with evidence that this isn't a movie written or directed by James Gunn, Will has elected to pick on the actual writer and shit on her lack of credits, instead of admitting his initial take was wrong. You can even see the purple hyperlink color on his screenshot, showing that he just looked this writer up while making this rushed grifter slop video, hinting that he added this part of the video at the last minute when he realized his fuck up. I also noticed Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, isn't purple. Because of course this motherfucker couldn't be bothered to even click that one. How do any of you Drinker followers not feel disrespected by this? He's putting in your face how much he doesn't give a fuck about you or providing you with accurate information.
Let's take a quick look at our IMDb page, shall we? Oh.
Cool. Now, how about we have a look at yours?
Anyway, it doesn't matter who wrote it, the end result is the same. I am fucking tired of these movies, man. The forced humor, the overbearing music, the desperate attempts to be edgy and different, the visual diarrhea that looks to be 90% green screen, the predictable plot points and story beats that you just know is going to be shoved into the standard James Gunn mold because that's literally the only thing he's capable of producing now.
You know, there's a little known solution to the problem of not liking something, and I was told this by my grandfather, who was told by his grandfather, and now I'm going to share it with you. It's called don't watch. If you don't like something, don't watch it. It's incredibly difficult, I know, having to stop yourself from getting in your car and driving through traffic and opening the door to the movie theater and giving them your money and sitting down in a seat for 2 hours. But you can do it. I have faith in you. You are a lot stronger than you look. And yes, I am including that quadricep muscle in your forehead.
There's a word that keeps lurking in my mind whenever I think of James Gunn films, and that word is sincerity. Not because they actually possess it, God no, but because they're so completely lacking in it that it actually feels they're taking something away from the audience on a fundamental level. He's the movie equivalent of an insecure teenager who's so scared of being mocked and ridiculed that literally everything he says and does has to be cloaked in a protective shield of sarcasm, cynicism, and ironic humor.
Once again, Will Jordan, the critical drinker, has failed to recognize he is criticizing himself. I mean, listen to what he said again, then watch a random drinker video with all the stupid movie clips of poop and vomit jokes. This guy is a living SpongeBob meme.
You really can't get invested in anything or anyone in a James Gunn movie because it all feels like a setup for one big joke. And well, I think people are starting to feel it.
Are they? What evidence do you have for this claim? Because from everything that I can see, audiences love James Gunn directed movies. He literally doesn't have a single miss according to the audience, unless you count Movie 43, which had 15 directors and doesn't really count. Hell, even your Superman review was rather positive. You know, for your standards.
For all Zack Snyder's faults as a storyteller, and believe me, there are many, one thing you can't accuse the guy of is insincerity. His films might be slow, bloated, self-important, dour and overly serious, but you can tell he's 100% committed to the story he's telling. And there's a kind of simplistic honesty in what he does. He's sincerely trying to show you who he is and what matters to him as a filmmaker.
What even is this nonsense? How do you know Gunn isn't sincere and isn't committed to the story he's telling? Do you know the man personally? You are literally here making the case that a movie he didn't direct or write is still somehow his movie, but in the same breath, claiming he isn't committed to the story he's telling? If that were true, wouldn't that be a commitment to the story he's telling? This is how we know you're a shit writer, Will. Your conclusions don't follow the premise. At this point in the video, you're just rambling, and it's obvious this was only included to pander to the Snyder Bros to get them on your side in your crusade against this movie and this franchise. Which again, demonstrates your lack of due diligence because you don't need to pander to them. They do that shit for free.
We even ran a poll on Open Bar a few weeks ago asking the audience if they preferred Man of Steel, a movie that's been thoroughly shit on over the years, or James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn, and the results were like 90% in favour of Man of Steel.
How very scientific.
I asked my audience who I've been training to hate this movie. If they hated this movie, results will shock you.
Thank you, boozed banter. I could barely tell the difference. I nearly hit you with a forehead joke.
That's not an endorsement of Man of Steel, it's an indictment of James Gunn's Superman and everything that it represents. Because when you get right down to it, I honestly think most people would choose deeply flawed sincerity over polished duplicity. What I'm trying to say with all this pretentious bullshit is that this trailer made me feel weary, somewhere deep down inside whatever passes for my soul. It's too much of everything that I'm sick of at this point, and I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Another zinger for the math there, Will. Does anybody else hate the popular thing? I can't be the only one, am I right? What are you, a fucking Redditor?
God only knows what it's going to do at the box office. If Superman could barely scrape its way to $600 million worldwide, despite the longest and most obnoxiously desperate marketing campaign in history, what chance do you think this fucking derivative, tired, played out abortion of a film is going to have?
Well, considering your track record for predicting the box office looks like tour dates in January, I'd say Supergirl has a really good chance of doing whatever you say it's not going to do. And again, I'm asking you, as a critic, why do you even care about the box office of a film? Our job as critics is to talk about the quality of a media property that we choose to review. It is our responsibility to that audience to give media properties a fair and honest review so that those that follow us can make an informed purchase decision. We are not there to tell them how to think and who to love or who to hate. We are there to help them come to their own conclusions based on our own opinions after having fully consumed a media property. The problem is, you're telling everyone that you're not a real critic and that you're a culture war ideologue that has taken a side and that you want this movie to fail, which betrays everything a critic should stand for. You are just a comment section troll that was lucky enough to garner a following.